Go live. Okay, going live. We're live. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Jana. I am one of the co-founders of Club dVIN, and I am joined today by Anne Cross and Michael Juergens, the CEO and founders of the Bhutan Wine Company. Tonight is all about our very exciting upcoming events that are going to be happening in 2024. This is the inaugural harvest event that we've been talking about for, I guess, over a year now. And we're really, really excited because today we've got a kind of a big announcement. We're finally announcing the actual dates where the 10 weeks are going to take place. So we will get to that. But first, I'll let Anne and Mike introduce themselves in case anyone hasn't already seen their beautiful faces.
Thanks, Jana. Hey, everybody. Good to have you here on this call tonight. My name is Anne Cross. I'm the CEO and one of the founders of the Bhutan Wine Company. We're super excited to chat with you guys tonight about our 2024 harvest trips. Lots of really cool things in store, and just really excited to share all of the wonderful things that we love so much about Bhutan and the project we're working on. So.
Thanks, Anne.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike. I'm the co-founder with Anne, and great to be here.
Nice. Mike is joining us from his punk rock wine cellar. Loving it.
I figured I'd bring a little pizzazz to the big announcement.
You always bring pizzazz, Mike. No shortage.
I'm the sizzle, Anne's the substance.
That's the truth.
Love it. Okay, so we have done a few of these before. So if people are rejoining us, then bear with us. I think it is important that we just cover a few of the basic facts, like where is Bhutan?
Bhutan is in the Himalayas, and it's between Tibet and Nepal. Small country. It's about the size of Switzerland, and it is the only carbon negative country on the planet. It's revered for its sustainable agriculture. It's also known for its philosophy of not tracking gross domestic product, but instead tracking gross national happiness, and which is why it's often referred to as the happiest place on earth after Disneyland, I suppose. And it's just a really magical Shangri-La in the middle of the most stunning landscapes you've ever seen in your life. I mean, you've been there, Jana. I mean, like
I have. I know. I'm acting like I know nothing, but yes, yeah. I was there.
I mean, it's everywhere you look. It's just stunning vistas and just crazy scenery.
It is. It's incredibly beautiful. But Mike, you didn't always know where it was, right?
You made me tell the story again. All right, I'll tell it because I know Anne loves it.
Because I love it.
So Anne read a book in high school about a woman, a Canadian woman, actually, Jana, who went to Bhutan and fell in love with the place and with the guy and stayed there. And so Anne read this book and was like, I'm going to go to Bhutan someday and go to this magical place. And so she's been talking about it the whole time we've been together. She will not Bhutan. At the same time, we were running marathons in crazy spots all over the world. And so I had gotten an email and the subject line said Bhutan Marathon. I'm like, oh, that's the place Anne's talking about. So I click it open. It says, we're taking foreigners to Bhutan to run the first international marathon. We're taking 10 people. If you'd like to go, click here. So I immediately clicked there and registered. And they selected us. And I went to Anne and said, guess what, baby, I'm taking you to Bhutan. And she goes, oh my God, we're going to the Himalayas. And I said, no, we're not. Bhutan's an island in Indonesia. She goes, no, it isn't.
I was like, no.
Look it up. And so I looked it up. And it was the first time ever she was right about something. And
oh my God.
And so we went to Bhutan. But yeah, I had no idea. And the other interesting thing about it is I did zero research on it before we went. I was just like, whatever. Like Anne knows about this place. I'll just go and check it out. So yeah. And then I got there and saw how amazing the place was and said, this place would be perfect to grow wine grapes. And so we built an industry.
And lesson learned. Thank goodness I never shut the hell up about it.
Yeah. Right. Oh, that's a good tactic.
I don't think that gives you carte blanche to just not shut the hell up about other stuff, though.
Exactly.
I think this was Anne's plan all along.
Yep.
It could have been. But yeah, so
okay.
we what's amazing is that, we started planting. It took a while to actually get the country engaged with this idea and then belief that it might work. We started planting vineyards in 2019, and then the country shut down in 2020, like literally closed its borders completely for like 2 years because of COVID. And during that time, with the team that we had built on the ground and the Bhutanese knowledge of sustainable agriculture, they didn't know grapes, but they know how to grow things. We were able to get, as of today, 10 vineyards planted. We've got 200 acres of vineyards moving, and we did it all under very challenging circumstances. So I couldn't be prouder of what's happened, and I can't wait to share that with the Club dVIN folks next summer. It will be a life-changing experience.
It will be, and I can definitely vouch for that because I was lucky enough to go in the end of July. I was there, and it was so. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect. We had done a lot of calls, and we talked about it for a long time leading up to it. But I really I wasn't prepared for how amazing it was. I think I had big expectations, but it was incredible. So, yeah. But let me do just like
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jana.
No, yeah. So I just want to give like a really brief summary of why we came together, Club dVIN and the Bhutan Wine Company. So basically, Mike has kind of led into this already, but Mike and Anne are actually creating a new wine industry. It's like the last frontier in the wine world. This kind of thing does not happen anymore. So there's not a lot of people alive today that can say, we're going to go and participate in the first ever commercial grape harvest in anywhere. So this is really, really special.
If you were 150 years old and you had lived in New Zealand in the 1800s, you could say it. But other than that, no one can say it.
Well, turns out I'm not. Or at least I've been drinking really good wine and I'm fooling you all, but no. So basically, Mike and Anne, the Bhutan Wine Company, have given Club dVIN members the exclusive right to go and travel to the Himalayas, to the Kingdom of Bhutan, and participate in the first ever grape harvest. And so this is what we've been talking about. This is what we've been building up to really since the beginning of Club dVIN. This is, we offer once in a lifetime experiences, and this is the once in a lifetime experience of this year. So definitely something to look into. And if you're interested in coming along, then definitely keep tuning into these conversations. And our website for the Bhutan experience is going to go up in the next couple of weeks. And there will actually be a formal expression of interest form there where you'll be able to choose your week and your experience, because there will be a couple different experiences. And then from there, we'll start to actually unroll the full process on how you can, first pay your deposit and then go to Bhutan. We're only going to be taking 100 people, so it's pretty limited.
And just a minor point of clarification too. Yes. Vineyards take a while to come online, and the first year they come online, they produce a couple grapes, and then they eventually start producing at scale. We did get some grapes this year, just a few from just a couple of our vineyards. And so I think you'd said it's the first time we're ever harvesting grapes. Not entirely true. We did make a couple small experimental batches of wine this year. But this will be the first commercial harvest, and this will be the first bottles that will be commercially available to purchase anywhere in the world. So, which is cool. Imagine having the first bottle of wine ever made in America, or the first bottle of wine ever made in France, or pick your place. I mean, that would be in the Smithsonian. I mean, yeah. to have one is cool, but to say you helped make one is even cooler, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So, and not only help make the wine and pick the grapes and all of that, but actually shape some of the new traditions that will, likely stick around. So, I mean, we came up with one during our steering committee trip, didn't we, Mike?
We did. Although
or is it a secret?
We didn't come up with it. We learned about it, but I'll tell the story again. Then you can show it because you got a glass of wine. So we're sitting there in this very, very traditional Bhutanese restaurant, which we picked because it was so traditionally Bhutanese. And we have a couple of Bhutanese folks with us, and we pour some wine and we go to do cheers. And I stop and I say to the Bhutanese guy, "Hey, how do you do cheers in Bhutan?" And he goes, "Or how do you say it?" And he goes, "Oh, we don't say it." And I go, "You don't?" He goes, No, we do this." And I'll let Jana do it.
So left hand, right?
Left hand.
Okay, left hand ring finger.
Yeah.
So you dip your ring finger in the drink, and then you say Sir Chem, and you flick the wine into the air. And why do you do that?
So the word serkem means the alcohol of the gods, and you are making a small offering to the gods of your alcohol when you do that, and the gods are happy. Well, it just so happens that when we asked the master namer monk to name our wine brand, he named it serkem, which I think is the most awesome thing in the whole world, to know that there's a ritual associated with it too. You know,
So cool.
so cool. Although I will say, we did get a little carried away over that trip with the flicking of the wine at every single opportunity. So
I think you have
there
a
was
T-shirt now that's like just red wine stains from everyone like Sir Chemming you. But yes. Yeah. All right, good times. So lots to look forward to for sure. And do you want to maybe give us like a little rundown of Bhutan and where the vineyards are and show us the magic?
I think the easiest way to do this is I actually have a map of our vineyards. Hold on one second. Okay. So can you see this?
It's loading on my end.
Loading.
There we go. Okay. Hold on, let me do this. Okay. Now can you see it?
Yeah, yep. Perfect.
Okay, I can't see you guys anymore, so hopefully this makes sense. But okay, so this is a map of Bhutan. As Mike said, it is about the size of Switzerland. But what you can see here is basically kind of a pictorial of where all of our vineyards are. And the size of the grape cluster is relative to the size of the vineyard. So you can see in the western side, we have more vineyards in the western side. Some of those were our initial experimentation vineyards where we did trial research. And then the kind of bigger vineyards are our commercial vineyards that we've planted a little bit later, and they are bigger. And so when we talk about the trips that we're talking about, the plan is that, as Jana mentioned, there will be different experiences. And so depending on the trip that you end up choosing, we will predominantly kind of focus you in the western side of the country. And then we will have some trips that go to the eastern side. It's a little bit harder to get to. Those are our two bigger vineyards, Norzentong and Gorshalu. But getting there is a little bit of a challenge. The main airport is in Paro, which is the far left city/vineyard that you see. But in order to get over to the east, sometimes it can be a little challenging. So if you do choose to go onto the eastern side, we'll have you be very flexible, because it may involve a flight or it may involve a day or two of driving with a stop in between. So that just kind of gives you a visual kind of footprint of where our vineyards are. And then the other thing I wanted to just share is this is a pictorial of.
Hey, can we go back a second? Can we go back a second? Because I want to mention something as it relates to the trips, because I think this is important. So the Himalayas run generally north-south, and there's some pretty large ranges in the middle. And so why it's hard to get to is it rains in the summer, monsoons. And if it rains, you can't fly a plane over the mountain, so you got to drive. And when it's monsooning, sometimes there's mudslides and stuff. So it gets a little bit tricky. Because of this, most of the development in Bhutan is on the west side of the country, the left side of the map. The right side is much, much, much more rural. And so even if you think about not just the process of getting there, but like what hotels you're going to stay at and what restaurants you're going to have access to. If you want a more luxury experience, do not pick the east. Pick the west, because it will be, and by the way, it's stunning. It's magnificent on that side, but it comes at a bit of a cost. Like I'll give you an example. In Norzentong, a a few months back, we had a snow leopard walking around our vineyard, and snow leopards don't eat grapes, but they eat Bhutan wine employees. So we had to pull employees out of the country. Well, so it is a much more wild place, and it will be a much more intense experience. But if you like creature comforts, don't pick the East.
We've actually been talking about what we're going to call that experience. And first we were like, do we call it the extreme experience? Like it certainly is more extreme.
It's definitely more extreme.
I think
more than anything, more than anything, flexibility, because, there may be some pivots along the way on those trips in particular.
Well, but I think in general, flexibility is going to be required kind of across the board, because summer is the monsoon months and the rain does impact things. And we also don't know precisely when each vineyard and each varietal is going to be ripe. And so, we may have, I'm making this up, but we may be planning on picking reds at Paro on August 15th on a Tuesday. And then our winemaker says, no, you know what? I want to let them hang till Thursday. Well, we're going to have to modify on the fly. So I think everyone who comes is going to need to be a little bit flexible just in terms of the agenda and itinerary, because we're doing cool wine stuff and we're at the whims of Mother Nature.
Yeah, and the trips are built such that, there's going to be a combination of being able to experience Bhutan and sightsee and see all the magical things of Bhutan in the area that you're in, as well as kind of wine experiences. To Mike's point, there will be, it will kind of be dependent on where we happen to be in the harvest cycle in that particular region, and in terms of what you may end up doing with the grapes or with the harvest or with the wine or whatever it may be. So
yeah. Awesome.
Okay. So Mike, anything more to say on this piece?
No, let's look at some pictures.
Okay. So this slide just really makes me so happy. I think it's a really good kind of, hopefully it gives you a really good just kind of snapshot of what Bhutan looks like, what the terrain looks like, but how our vineyards are kind of nestled into a lot of these just really unbelievably gorgeous, picturesque places. So what you'll see here is it's just really a smattering of our different vineyards from different regions in the country, as well as, of course, you can see some of the progress in some of them. You'll see vines, and some of these grape clusters are from some of our vineyards that, as Mike said, we did have some ripe fruit, and of course we did harvest some grapes from some of the earlier producing vineyards. And so, it just, like I said, it makes me happy and smile to see all this, because it's not only the progress of what we've made, but also just gives you kind of a really good glimpse of the diversity of Bhutan and the types of vineyards that you will be able to visit and see if you do join us on one of these trips.
And
Yes.
I'll tell a little story here that's kind of fun.
Bottom left story, Mike.
Another story. We go to Bhutan to run the marathon, and I'm convinced that this place is one of the greatest places in the world to grow grapes. And I come at that from a guy who, is a consultant in the wine industry and is a master wine candidate and has written a bunch of books about wine. I come at it from a place of knowledge. I'm looking, I'm going, this place is perfect. And so we spend a couple of years talking to the country about building the wine industry. And then we spend, 4 or 5 years working on actually doing it. So I'm there in July, and I'm standing in a vineyard, and there are grapes on the vine, and I'm about to taste my first Bhutanese grape, my first actual real Bhutanese grape. And I'm looking at it, and my brain keeps going, what if it sucks? What if it sucks? What if it sucks? And the rational part of my brain is going like, well, it could suck because it's not ripe yet, or maybe, this varietal doesn't do well at this altitude, or it could suck for a million reasons. But my heart's going, what if it sucks? What if you're wrong? And so I go, well, fuck it. Let's find out. I throw the grape in my mouth. I bite down on it. It was Malbec, by the way. Although, interesting, wasn't Malbec the first varietal we planted, or is it Merlot?
No, Merlot.
No, it was Merlot. Yeah, you're right. So anyway, so I bite down on this Malbec grape, and it just explodes with like powerful, concentrated flavors and powerful aromas. And I'm like, ah, damn it, I was right. I knew it. And that was our experience with. I mean, like I said, not all the vineyards had grapes, and the ones that didn't necessarily have a ton. But I tried every single grape varietal that I could, no matter what stage of ripeness they were at. Same across the board. Whites, reds, you bite them just bursting, exploding with flavor. And I was like, oh, thank God. So I think we're going to make some really amazing wines from this region. I couldn't be more stoked on it.
And one more story, just while we've got this slide up. So bottom left, on the bottom line, there's two pictures in the bottom left corner. The one where the river is running through. This is where some of you have probably already heard this story, but when I first visited that vineyard, you can kind of see the river goes around a bend, and then there's this brighter green patch kind of in the middle of the frame on the left. And that's the vineyard. That is actually, I don't even know how you guys got that there. I still am amazed. But you can actually, when you get down there, and you have to go down there with like a Bolero, because, you know, the normal bus or van that drives you is never going to make it down that rugged, rocky road. But you get down there, and the vineyard is stunning. It's like very, very close to the river, and it's just beautiful. And the vines are healthy, and the grapes look amazing. And then we ventured down a little farther and got actually to the base where the river is. And we put some bottles of champagne, because we're bringing in a lot of wine for these trips, right? You're not going to be thirsty. Obviously, Bhutan isn't making wine yet, or it's not going to be bottled for a little while, a few years. So of course, we're bringing in some really good wines for everybody on these trips. So we had some pretty nice champagne, and we thought we should probably cool it down somehow. So we put it into the river, which is, you know, Himalayan glacier runoff. So it's pretty cool water. And we actually had the bottles chilling there, like kind of all put down in between the rocks so they wouldn't get washed away, because it's like, really, it's kind of like whitewater rapids there. It's pretty crazy. But there's this one inlet that's very, very calm, and you can actually walk in, and it's sandy on the bottom, and it's beautiful, and you can just walk in and like chill in the river. Literally on a hot day, it's amazing. And then Mike savored some champagne, and we actually drank champagne from the Himalayan glacier runoff water. It was such a cool experience, and I think we'll definitely have to bring that one.
I'm not at all jealous that I wasn't able to be there during that week.
We're gonna do it again.
I know.
It was pretty bitching. It's definitely, you have these life experiences that you kind of stick with you, and you can remember every single little detail. And that certainly is one of them for me, is standing in that ice cold water with my pants off, standing around in my underwear, you know, at the same time, hot and cold, savoring a bottle of Ace of Spades, and then drinking it out of a plastic cup. I mean, come on.
It was awesome.
It was unbelievable.
It was pretty awesome. Yeah. And then we had a picnic down by the river, and everyone came down. Even the team that was working in the vineyard came down. Everyone ate together. It was awesome. That was one of the highlights of the trip, but it's hard to choose what was the best moment.
I can say, you know, after, you know, being in the business world for 30 years, this was the first time I ever gave a motivational speech to a group of my employees while standing in my underwear.
Maybe not the last. Who knows?
Oh, Lord,
I'm probably going to bring some shorts next year.
Yeah, we recommend that. So.
Well, one other thing that I wanted to share was a video that also kind of, I think, gives a glimpse of, this is, let's see, sorry, I got to figure out how to do this now. Sharing again. Here we go. This also hopefully gives a glimpse of one of our vineyards. This is our Gorchelou vineyard in the east, and it kind of just, it was a recent video that we received from our vineyard manager there on the ground, and it just gives you a glimpse of what it looks like.
Oh, cool.
And sounds like. So there you go.
What bird was that we were hearing?
I think it was a boo-boo.
A boo-boo.
A boo-boo is what I think it is. Yeah. The boo-boos are like these black and white birds that are about the size of a small crow.
Oh, okay. I was like, a boo-boo is usually if you hurt yourself.
A boo-boo. Remember I had the bird laser and I was chasing the birds at Bajo? The black and white ones, those are boo-boos.
Okay. Any story that starts with remember when I had the bird laser? Like, yeah. Okay.
But what's cool about that is, like I said, it not only gives you a glimpse of the vineyard, but if you just listen, it's so calm. You even saw one of the prayer flags in the middle of the vineyards. I mean, that is Bhutan in a nutshell right there. It's serene and peaceful. You mean out in the country, but it's just such a cool place.
Yeah. The way that I describe it, and it's hard to describe, right, is that you have this extraordinarily powerful energy there, but it's a serene energy. And the only thing the best I've come up with is when you were a little kid and you would get that massive hug from grandma that was crushing, but at the same time, you felt so safe and secure. That's what being in Bhutan feels like to me.
I remember you telling me that on the trip, and that actually really stuck with me. That was, that's really accurate. Yeah. It's such a cool place. It's so hard to put it into words. It is life-changing. I mean, yeah.
Well, and I mean, I think Bhutan's a bucket list destination for people, anyways, right? Tons of people want to go there, but to do it on a wine trip makes it even cooler. And to do it on the one and only first commercial harvest makes it even more unique. I'll tell another story, Janet, because I love telling stories. So last weekend was the Sonoma Vintners charity auction. And what they do is they get, all the big wineries and stuff to donate these lots and they sell them off and high net worth individuals go and bid on these things and all the money goes to charity. So I had donated a lot. I know we had said this trip is exclusive for Club dVIN people, but we made some arrangements to do a couple special things like this. So I donate this lot to the auction and I'm can't wait for it to come up because I don't know if everyone's going to bid or no one's going to bid. And it turns into a bidding war and it ends up being the highest paid lot of the entire auction. And these two guys were bidding against each other and they wouldn't stop. And so finally the auctioneer paused the auction. I have it all on video too. It's awesome. He pauses the auction. He looks at me, he goes, "Can we just double this and give it to both of them?" And I go, "You can if you get the price up a little bit more." And they both said, "Done." And so we sell these lots. And then afterwards, the two guys just jump on me. And the one dude says, "I got the listing for this auction. The only reason I came was to get this trip." And he's like, "I'm so glad I came. I'm so glad I got it. I can't wait for it." So, but I mean, that's the level of just excitement that other people have about this. I hope it's the same for the Club dVIN members, but what a cool, it's sort of like the wine grape, my mouth for the first time, like, what if nobody bids? What if nobody cares? And then it's awesome. And I'm like, oh, thank God, I was right. So cool stuff.
That's an awesome story. There, look, there's your validation.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. I want to see that video. That sounds awesome. I would have loved to have been there.
It was
so cool.
It was cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
And the other thing is, Janet, remember the Bhutanese boots?
Oh man, did you wear them?
I wore those, yeah, to the Sonoma wine auction. And so
I bet you wear them every day. I honestly.
No, actually, that's the first time I wore them. I'll share this with the groups. So in Bhutan, there's what's called a national uniform, and it for men it kind of looks like a bathrobe, but with really embroidered colors, and it's called a go. And for women, it's called a kira, and it's like a skirt and a blouse thing, but the special cut, also in these really bright colors. But as part of the formal uniform, and Bhutanese, when they go to work or school, they wear that to work or school, but in their spare time, they don't. But they also come with these just ridiculously ornate embroidered boots, which of course I had to buy a pair. I'm telling you, just Google Bhutanese boots, click on it. And now imagine wearing a pair of those around wine country in California.
In California. So Mike picked up those boots when I was there a couple weeks ago. and he had them in the van, and everyone was talking about the boots. And I'm like, I have to see them. They are the coolest thing ever. And I really don't believe you that you're not wearing them like every day, because that would suit your personality.
Yeah. The problem is it's hot and I like wearing flip-flops, but when winter comes, who knows? Maybe I'll wear them every day.
He has the shorter version too. So he can kind of cover all seasons.
Of course.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it. Okay. Amazing. So we are about halfway through time-wise. So I just want to make sure we've got a couple questions in the live chat that I can see here on YouTube. And then there's also the date release. So why don't we do the date release now and give a little bit more of an outline on what the difference is between the 3 experiences that we're offering. And then anyone now who wants to ask some more questions can put them in the chat, and we'll get to those at the end. So what are the dates?
Oh, you want me to announce them?
Next summer.
Sorry, I thought that was you.
Oh, no. I mean, I can. I have to pull them up though.
No. That's fine. So we will be starting we will be going for 10 weeks, 1 week each. And we will be starting the very first trip will be Saturday, July 6th for 1 week. So every Saturday will be your start and end date. So starting July 6th is the first week until the 13th and so on. And the last week will be the week of September 7th to the 14th.
Awesome. Okay.
So those are the inclusive 10-week dates. And do you want me to talk a little bit about the differences, Jana?
Yeah, go for it. So there's three different packages, and the dates are already decided on which week is which package. So depending on what kind of experience you're looking for, you'll just have to decide if the dates work for you for that package.
Right. So we talked a little bit about the eastern part of Bhutan and how that might be a little bit more of a extreme experience. So in order to maximize when we think that the harvest timing will be in the east, the first 3 weeks will actually be our eastern trips. So the first 3 weeks in the July trips, we will be heading to the east. That is when we anticipate harvest activities happening in those vineyards. And so we want to maximize that. It also hopefully gives us the best chance, as Mike mentioned, with the monsoon season, to be able to have a less challenging logistic experience to get there. So we will always have you fly in and out of Paro, which is the main international airport. And just a note that your trip with us will begin in either Bangkok or Delhi. And so we will make arrangements depending on which airport you fly into. We will make arrangements starting in either Bangkok or Delhi, but you will fly into the Paro airport. And so for the first 3 weeks, we will, allow you to experience Paro regardless. Hike Tiger's Nest, which is a must do. And then we will head to the east. And that will be several days, depending on what the week looks like in terms of getting us there. And then flying back into Paro, and if there's time, potentially going to Thimphu, which is the other kind of big city. It's the capital city in Bhutan. So that's the first 3 weeks. Then the next 7 weeks are focused in the western side of the country. And most of our trips are going to be what we're considering just, the main trip, so kind of a standard trip. We will be flying again in and out of Paro. You will certainly be hiking Tiger's Nest. And then we will be visiting our western vineyards, our vineyards that you saw on the map there in the western part of Bhutan, and kind of circulating around those vineyards, harvesting where we have grapes and other kind of vineyard activity, and then going to the capital city as well, and coming back and flying out of Paro. The one kind of difference is within those 7 weeks, we will be providing 2 weeks where we're kind of making it a more luxurious experience. So we will be staying at different hotels and including some kind of additional activities that are really kind
Baller.
of
Just
what's
baller
that?
as hell. Baller as hell.
Yeah, baller. I guess that's a good way to put it. But as you can imagine, Bhutan in itself is unbelievably gorgeous. So some of the hotels there, I mean, all of the hotels are beautiful that we'll be staying in, but some are just absolutely breathtaking. And so our more luxurious 2-week trips will be staying at those locations.
And I think just to pile on with that, so Bhutan, it's hard to get to. It's expensive to go. You got to pay the daily tourist fees. It's it caters towards a higher end of tourist, but it's also beloved by celebrities and so on and so forth. So you will get these hotels that are ridiculous, like $10,000 a night hotels in a country where the average annual salary is $2,500. So it's like 4 times the median income. That would be the equivalent of like a $200,000 a night hotel room in the US. And so we're not staying at the $10,000 a night ones, even on the baller trip. But we do want to give, for those of you who really want to go all out on this, we are going to make 2 options or 2 weeks available to you to do that. And so if that's your game, go for one of those.
Yeah. And then in terms of food and wine, so we're going to be bringing in some baller wines. So that's the language we're speaking. I like it. We're definitely going to be bringing in lots of really, really great wines. So that's a no-brainer for any kind of dVIN experience. But in terms of food, when I was there, we ate some delicious food. So local stuff. The momos, I can't even stop dreaming about the momos. And I actually brought back like 4 or 5 different kinds of chili sauce and chili mixtures and everything. And I think we finally got close the other night, but it still wasn't even.
Dude, I brought back I brought it back a bunch of spice as well. And over Labor Day, we did a barbecue, and I smoked a brisket and I smoked chicken thighs, and I put the Bhutanese fire spice on the chicken thighs, and like half the people there said, "This is the best chicken I've ever had in my life." What'd you do? And I go, "I just used Bhutanese spice."
So flavorful. Like it's spicy, but it's not, it doesn't kill you, and it's just so flavorful. Like everything that I use that stuff on is like another level. So we'll be bringing some wines that also match that.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be looking at that. And the one thing I will say is, Bhutan grows literally some of the world's best crops in certain verticals like red rice or cardamom or mandarin oranges, hopefully now wine grapes. So the produce is unbelievable, but it's a Buddhist country, so they don't kill things. And so the meat, they kind of source differently, and the meat tends to not be as great as the produce. As much as I love Bhutanese food, I mean, that's just the reality of it. The meat tends to be a little less fresh because they're bringing it in from elsewhere. And so I would say, when I go to Bhutan, I don't go full vegetarian, but I over-index on veggies a lot. And so I would just kind of put that out there as if you want to really get the best food experience, you're probably going to want to over-index a little bit on the produce. Except remember that one place that had the like the boiled pig head or whatever it was.
It was so good. They were like, "This is a pig's face," and I was like, "This is delicious."
I was like, "This sounds terrible," but I'm trying it, and then it was so awesome. So there are some, but you know what? I think it depends on whether or not they're having to fly the meat in, or whether or not they're getting it in the country. Because if you're not Buddhist, it's totally fine for you to kill something in the country. They don't like it, but they do have meat that is prepared there just by non-Buddhist people. So I think that's the deciding factor is like, did you have to fly it in, or did you get it here somewhere? It's more likely that they flew it in.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I would say that for those that are curious on the trips, I would say that I think there's a good balance of very traditional Bhutanese type of food, as well as what you might consider maybe more westernized food with a little Bhutanese flair. So I would say, it would be good if you're an adventurous eater, but you don't necessarily have to be. I mean, there's definitely, I myself am extraordinarily sensitive to spice. And so when I'm eating Bhutanese food, I just have to tamper down and eat a lot of rice and kind of some of the more mild vegetables. So definitely doable. But I would say, I think on our trips, we will have certainly a balance of a kind of all types of both Bhutanese as well as more westernized food.
Awesome. Okay, so there's one more story that I want to tell about the paddle, but we've also got to answer questions. So first of all, anybody who's been listening, remember, if you want to express interest for this trip, you can just reach out to us on any of our social platforms, or actually you can reach out to us by email as well. My email is j@clubdvin.com. You can also reach out to Dave, who couldn't make it tonight, d@clubdvin.com. But let's answer some questions, and then if there's time, I'll tell the paddle story, because I love that story, and it just really kind of, I think it kind of just, that was Bhutan to me, that one story. So we'll hold it till the end. We've got some questions about where the grapes actually came from, where you brought them in from.
So this was a bitch, actually, because I was emailing nurseries and saying, hey, I'd like to buy some grapes. They go, cool, where's your winery? And I would go, in Bhutan. And then I would never hear anything back from the nurseries. And so it's like, hey, I'm a Nigerian prince and I'm emailing you to come get some stuff. And so no one would take me seriously. So I finally, living in Southern California, I got in my car, I drove to Sunridge Nurseries, which is the biggest nursery in the US, which is up in Bakersfield. And I literally went in the front door and I said, God damn it, guys, here I am. I'm a real person. I have a checkbook. Take me seriously and sell me some goddamn grapes. So that was the first bunch of grapes that we got. The second bunch of grapes that we got, I wanted to mix up the clones a little bit. And so we went to Mercier in France in the Loire Valley and sourced grapes from there. Then it was a little bit easier because I could show them pictures of the vineyards and say, this is legitimate. And then one of the things that we wanted to experiment with was hybrids, particularly in the tropical area. And so I went to a special hybrid nursery on the East Coast of the US to get our hybrids that we brought in. So that's where we got the grapes initially. But the cool thing is Bhutan doesn't have phylloxera, and there's no way phylloxera can get to Bhutan. So our plan going forward is to plant all our own grapes from the vines, from cuttings from the vines that we have in there. So we have 8 nurseries there now that we're growing our own cuttings. So my goal is to never import another grape unless we decide we want to try a new varietal.
That's so cool. Who can say that as well? Like another level. Very cool. Very cool. And what grapes are we growing here? What are we talking about?
So on the reds, we have the Bordeaux varietals. So we have Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Malbec, Merlot. Thank you. I'm like, why am I drawing a blank on this? And then we also have Syrah, Pinot Noir, Sangiovese, and Tempranillo. Now, the interesting thing is Bhutan has altitudes. Our lowest altitude vineyard is at 500 feet. Our highest altitude vineyard is at 10,000 feet. So like we have them at 3,000 feet and 5,000 feet. So we have a ton of different climate zones, and we don't know, because we have no history, which varietals are going to grow well where, or which ones may not grow at all, or which ones might be awesome. So we're trying a bunch of different stuff. So every vineyard, for the most part, has all of these varietals. I'm probably the only guy in the world who has a vineyard that's growing Riesling next to Cabernet Sauvignon next to Pinot Noir. Like, you don't see that too often.
That's Sir Boom, right?
What's that?
Is that Sir Boom?
Sir Boom. Well, no, it's Bajo. It's Paro. It's
Mike, you didn't say what white grapes we have.
I haven't done that yet. I'm just still riffing on my reds. But on the whites, we have Sauvignon Blanc, Chenin Blanc, Riesling, and Chardonnay. And then we have 2 hybrids, Vidal and Traminette, which are both white.
Wicked.
So that's what we got. And by the way, we know not all of those are going to work. And That's totally fine. Our goal is to say, oh, Pinot Noir. Well, I'll give you an example. Cerbum, that's our highest vineyard, is at 10,000 feet. Grapes are struggling there, but Pinot Noir is looking really good and Chardonnay is looking really good. In the East, in those big commercial vineyards, Chardonnay sucks, but Tempranillo is crushing it. Malbec's crushing it. And so I think what we'll end up with over time is dialing in, where to put what.
It's an experiment for now.
It's a big experiment. Here, plant this cutting, wait 5 years, then make some wine and wait 2 years for it to age in barrel. And then, oh, it sucks. Try something different, which is why, this, for us, like, we're thinking about this project on a 100-year time horizon. I think, it's really going to take some time to dial this in because of all of the different, climates. It's kind of like Napa figured out the valley floor pretty quickly, but when they started going up the mountainsides, especially on the east versus west, it took a little while longer to dial in what was working the best. And we have that times 100,000. So
yeah. And you've got a really solid team too. It's talking to Francois over there as well. It was just it was so cool to see what you've learned so far and been able to implement.
We learned about wasps this trip, right? Remember?
Killer wasps.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So then we've got a lot of winemaking questions here. Loire, do you have Chenin? Yes. Manual harvest everywhere?
Everywhere.
Cool. Wooden barrels, clay, stainless steel. What kind of vessels?
So right now so we don't have our permanent production facility set up. We have a temporary production facility set up. And we are, basically fermenting in tank and aging the reds in barrels. But we had very, very limited production this year. So this year we're just kind of lumping everything together. Over time, as we build out the big production facility, right now our plan is to do stainless and oak. That being said, it would be interesting to do cement if we could get cement there. Part of the issue is I need someone who knows how to make a tank out of cement, and I need to fly him to Bhutan and get the right non-permeable cement there. So we might try that. And another thing I think is really cool is there's a winery in China. It's actually the first family-owned winery in China called Grace Vineyards. They are on their, I think, 27th vintage. So they were one of the early pioneers there. What they're experimenting with, which I just think is a fucking cool story, is they're making eggs, which I don't know that I'm 100% in on eggs, but they're using the clay from the vineyard to make the egg.
Oh,
so how cool is that terroir?
That's interesting.
And the other thing that it's a really cool philosophy or trial, right? So that's interesting. And then the other thing that we're experimenting with is Bhutanese oak. So that's going to be a longer term project, but I think over time it would be great if we could identify which species of Bhutanese oak adds, the right character to wine, start a cooperage there. But that's 15 years out. So we're going to be in French oak in the short term. We're not doing any of that hippie bullshit amphora stuff or, clay jars or.
Tell us how you really feel about that, Mike.
No orange wine, none of that shit.
I just got back from Georgia. You're talking about handmade eggs. We're talking about Kfevri over there, but handmade from the clay, from the area. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's really cool. Okay. So I think we're coming up close to an hour. I feel like we could talk for 4 more hours about all of this, but we will over time. So there will be more of these conversations. So stay tuned for those. The paddle story. I have to close it off with the paddle story. So we went in the week that I was there. Anne was there the week before me, and the weeks overlap. Are the weeks going to overlap for these 10 trips? No. Okay. So our week overlapped, and we had one night together where we had dinner. And Anne was telling me, you're going to go rafting. It's going to be really cool. You don't really have to paddle. It's not that wild. And I was like, okay, cool. It was kind of wild, but not that wild, right? I'm pretty sure that's what you told me. And so we get in the boat, and I'm feeling pretty good because I come from Nova Scotia where it's all water. And I grew up paddling and feeling really cocky. And sure enough, I am the first and one of the only ones to lose my paddle after it smacked me across the face because I got it stuck under the boat. I don't know. I wasn't feeling so hot after that, but the paddle was gone. And so, because we got into like a little spot that was a little rough, and yeah, the paddle was gone, and I was feeling really bad because I'm like, they're not going to be able to get a new one of these paddles very easily. Like, it's not like you can go around the corner to the shop and get another one. It's just not how it is. So Mike meets us at the end of the rafting, and he's going up to the guy and like, hey, can we replace your paddle? And I'm going up to the guy like, hey, can I pay for the paddle? Is there anything I can do? And what does he say to you, Mike?
He goes, no, you don't have to. And he goes, when this happens, the river carries the paddle downstream, and the villagers downstream find it and they bring it back to us. And if they don't, then that paddle wasn't meant to be with us anymore.
Yeah. And it was like, if the paddle was meant to be here, it will come back. And that was the philosophy. And I was like, wow, it just really hit me. Like the Bhutanese culture is really beautiful, and spirituality is like one thing, but just the way that people interact with each other and engage with you is just, it's something that's really hard to describe. And this mentality of, you know, if it's not meant to be, it won't be. And this like peaceful living style just really touched me. So I think that story is something I'll never forget.
They have a philosophy in Bhutan, and I'm going to butcher the saying of it, but it's called like mitap. And what it means in Bhutanese is impermanence. And the Bhutanese really believe that everything is impermanent. Even the earth itself, right? Over a long enough time horizon is not going to be here. We're all here for very short times. Flies are here for short times. Flowers bloom, and that everything is impermanent. You have to just remember that you're in that space. And so, you know, when the paddle goes, oh, maybe it's the paddle's time. And it's just a really cool way of living.
Yeah.
That's cool. You know what you should do, Jana, that would be funny as hell? Is when we go back next summer, bring a paddle and give it back to the guys and be like, guess what? It came back to you.
I love that. I'm going to be, I'll be, how do I check that in? Sports equipment, I suppose. That's happening.
Oversized.
Yeah.
You're going to be walking through the Delhi airport carrying one white rudder rafting paddle. And you're going to be like, what the hell?
That's awesome. We got to talk to Jess too, because she lost her paddle as well. And I hated that both the only two women on the boat lost our paddles. That is just, that can't be. That cannot be.
I will tell you that I totally made up for it, Jana, because I think I was like basically leading the entire boat in our.
I believe you.
I saw Mike a few times, like.
It certainly wasn't Henry.
Or Karma. Karma.
Oh, no, it was Karma. It was Karma that was like just
Karma. I was like, Karma, come on, let's get moving here.
He was behind me in the boat the whole time, and like everybody was kind of shit talking, and Chris was in front of me, and you know, Chris, if you're watching this, like, we get it, you know, you got some muscle, but a little less shit talk next time, Chris. Anyways, the trip's going to be amazing, all 10 of them, because there are 10 weeks. So yeah, let us know if you guys are interested. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm going to be there for 3 weeks, I think. So come on my week, but yeah.
I'm going on the baller weeks. That's going to be my week.
Yeah. Amazing. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for showing up and being interested, and we hope to hear from you. There will be more of these. Thank you very much, Mike and Ann. Always nice to see you guys. And yeah,
thanks for having us.
Next one.
All right, guys.
Cool.
All right.
Later, guys.